Today, we're going to tell you about a man who didn't just do his job. He became a guardian angel for a young woman on the brink of despair. In the small town of Riverside, Indiana, there's a police officer named Mike Stevens. One ordinary patrol night turned into a life-changing event that impacted not only him, but also the woman he saved. This is a story about how simple actions can become a powerful force for rescue and healing. Mike had been working in law enforcement for 12 years. He always saw himself as the guy at the scene, but never imagined he'd become a hero. Yet, this particular incident showed that sometimes fate chooses us for something greater. It's a story about how one conversation can change someone's life forever. That evening, Riverside was blanketed in fog, and the streets felt eerily empty. On the bridge over the river, known locally as Old Joe, stood a young woman named Emily Wilson. She was an artist, but the past few months had turned her life into a nightmare. After losing her job and clashing with loved ones, she felt completely broken. Her paintings, once a source of joy, now gathered dust in the corner of her room. Emily had spent a long time thinking about how to escape this dark pit, but no solution seemed clear. She came to the bridge, believing it would be the end of her pain. But fate had other plans. Just as she stood on the edge, Mike Stevens noticed her during his routine patrol. He immediately realized the situation required a delicate approach. Mike slowly approached Emily, careful not to make any sudden movements. He knew that one wrong word or action could make things worse. "Hi, I'm Mike," he said gently, keeping his distance. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing." Emily didn't respond. She stood there, staring at the water, as if her thoughts were miles away. Mike kept talking, sharing stories about people he'd met during his years on the job, people who had also found themselves on the edge but managed to find a way out. His voice was calm, but filled with sincerity. "I know it feels like there's no other way right now," Mike said, "but you're not alone. I'm here to help." Those words became the first step toward bringing Emily back from the brink. Emily began to listen. At first, she didn't want to talk, but Mike kept asking questions that made her think. "What's worrying you the most?" he asked. She hesitated, but eventually started opening up about her fears, losses, and loneliness. Mike listened intently, without interrupting, giving her space to express her feelings. He told her about local support programs and offered to connect her with professionals. "You're stronger than you think," he said, "and you deserve a second chance." Those words sparked a glimmer of hope that Emily hadn't felt in a long time. Mike escorted her to a mental health center, where they met with a therapist. He stayed by her side until she felt comfortable and promised to check in on her progress. That moment marked the beginning of an unusual friendship. A few weeks later, Emily began to change. She picked up her brushes and paints again, creating works that reflected her inner struggle and eventual healing. One of her pieces, inspired by that fateful night on the bridge, became a symbol of her rebirth. She titled it Light in the Darkness. At a local art exhibition, Emily showcased her collection, dedicated to overcoming depression and finding recovery. As she shared her story with the audience, many were moved to tears, seeing how art could serve as a path to healing. Mike attended the exhibition too. When Emily thanked him publicly from the stage, the entire crowd rose to their feet in applause. It was a moment that changed both of them. For Mike, it was a reminder of why he chose to become a police officer. For Emily, it was a turning point, a new purpose in life. After this experience, Mike decided to do more. He began collaborating with local organizations to help people struggling with mental health issues. He organized training sessions for his fellow officers, teaching them how to communicate effectively with individuals in crisis. His work became an example of how police officers can be not just enforcers of the law, but also sources of support. Emily continued her journey as well. She started hosting workshops for people battling depression, using art as a way to express emotions. Her story spread far beyond Riverside, inspiring others to keep fighting. Mike often says that meeting Emily taught him a lot. Sometimes the most important things don't happen because you're a hero. They happen because you're just a human being, he reflects. Each of us can be a light for someone in the dark. Emily, for her part, credits fate for bringing Mike into her life at the right moment. He didn't just save my life, she says. He gave me a new reason to live. This story is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's always room for light. And sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to reach out and help. Thank you for watching to the end. This story is based on real events, but the characters' names, places of work, places of residence, and other details described in the story are fictitious. Any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. We respect the privacy of the people involved in the real story and avoid any details that could be perceived as an invasion of privacy.